Okay, so one last comment before proceeding about the last card play of turn 4 is that I used the Operation Forager, as you may remember, the one that destroys an air unit at the conclusion of the offensive, as an event, and rolled a 7, while the intelligence value for the event, the modified one, was 7, and if I had used it as an operation it would be a modified 5 intelligence value. So if I had happened to use it as an operation, I might have enjoyed a better success with that surprise and possibly landing at Surabaya, but of course nobody could have predicted that. And I was so much frustrated with MacArthur's previous failure of landing with Operation Brewer that this was too much to ask for me. So, proceeding to reinforcements for turn 5. So my comment here is I managed to also waste the Commonwealth naval units, and I'm still under ISR. We will need a miracle to survive through 1943. And at least let's hope we can play without Interservice Rivalry for the rest of the game after that. And now receiving our reinforcements. So what happened here is that we had to roll for our delayed reinforcements for turn 2, which were sent to Europe until turn 5. And now one of those, particularly this corps, was sent to Europe for 3 more turns, but we also received the other guy, this one long-range bomber, and the rest of the reinforcements is now delayed because of the decrease in the war in Europe level. So this cool guy will be our sole reinforcement, as pathetic as this may sound. And moving on. So, Japanese reinforcements time. Julius' comment is that we are both in ISR and it will probably go down to who gets the political will event first, so let's see if he is correct about that. We are getting an ASP of reinforcements up to 4, and he's getting some aeroplanes, one in Surabaya and one in Kure, and one army onto Saigon to protect this headquarters. Now time for our replacement. This is turn 5, so we are getting 1 Chinese, as well as 2 ground, 5 air and the standard 1 naval replacement. So this one will be restored to full strength. And we are bringing back Lexington from eliminated to Bougainville. Then we've got some replacements in Hollandia and then Madras. So we're bringing a long-range bomber to Madras to possibly mount some sort of counter-attack here. And we also bring 1 more long-range bomber onto Lai in the hopes of doing something in the Pacific. Okay, so the Japanese will spend some more Chinese divisions. Okay, also this one will be restored to full strength. He's spending 1 naval replacement to bring Yamada to full strength in Tokyo. And he's also spending some Japanese divisions in China to restore 1 ground unit back to Kwajalein, and also one to flip this strong army, the 20 attack damage one, back to full strength, and possibly continue his expansion onto the CBI. Now, an interesting note about Kwajalein is that this is the most likely spot for the Americans to mount a counter attack. I mean, if they have the naval strength, unlike our case. And this is usually garrisoned by some weak marine units and naval units. So possibly the Americans with a ton of operation points and a lot of activations will attack this one and take it down. And from Kwajalein they can also get some political will by capturing these ones, and then possibly island hop onto Eniwetok, and from there expand through the Central Pacific. So time for the submarine roll. In this case we need a 5 or less. So he's losing 1 amphibious shipping point and draws a 6 card Japanese hand. So our turn for the first card play. Just as a note, even if he had drawn a 7 cards hand and we draw a 7 cards hand as well, we are going first from now on because this is 1943, we have to get the initiative. And we're starting with Operation Cherry Blossom. Now let's take a look at our hand. Operation Cherry Blossom is a hefty activations one with an irrelevant bonus right now. But we also have a pretty interesting, albeit problematic hand. We've got Operation Watchtower, which is a surprise attack. And this might be useful if we get the chance for a last play, which might be the case. Because the Japanese, this could be the case if the Japanese had not saved the future offensive, but now with 6 cards and 1 pass and 1 future offensive, a total of 8 plays against our total of 8 card plays at max, we shall probably not get the last play, so it is unlikely we achieve a surprise against the ton of Japanese reaction cards that there is in the deck. We can possibly save that for later as a future offensive, who knows. And we also got some political events. This one is 2 ground replacements for the Australians, and this one is an extra amphibious shipping point, which also, interestingly enough, is our best course of surprise attacks. If we try to achieve some surprise, it will be with these cards, although in short distances of 5 hexes by sea, possibly. So this is always a question whether to use those as operations for some possible surprise or use the political events. I guess we need the surprise at this point, and a cool strategy would be to try to achieve surprise and force the Japanese to possibly spend some reaction cards and then leave some room for surprise by Operation Watchtower. Okay, other than that, we've got the New China Army, which is a strong one for the CBI theater, for the SEAC headquarters, activating only ground and air units and giving me 1 Chinese ground replacement step and possibly activating the Chinese units at no cost. So if we want to mount a counterattack in the CBI towards Rangoon, then this might be the card to go. Okay, this one requires a battle hex in Philippines, and it is not really likely that we want to attack Philippines yet, but maybe if we want many activations, so we can just declare a mock fight at Philippines just to fulfill these conditions. And again, this is a card with many activations for MacArthur, but it will be probably used as an OC at this stage. So opening up with Cherry Blossom, activating the SEAC headquarters. So Cherry Blossom gives us a logistic value of 5 for any HQ. So coupled with the 1 efficiency of SEAC, that's a total of 6 activations. Okay, British Corps and Indian Corps and Australian Corps, 2 air units, and 1 more air unit from Calcutta. So let's see what we do with those. We're moving this one, the Indian, to Mandalay. So this is about time I regret building the Ledo road instead of the Imphal one, because now we have to make the round trip, half, 1.5, 2, 2.5 and 3 movement points instead of going directly through Imphal and possibly accelerating our advance. Since we want to play aggressively here, maybe we should have constructed this one road instead. But anyway, let's do without it for now. So this is one, then it is the Australian Corps following the exact same route, then the British guys. Actually, I've decided against entering the zone of influence of Ryujo just yet. I left those guys just here to attempt some possible surprise onto Ryujo. And now activating these guys, the long-range bombers, this one, and these 2 regular air units. So we've got 20 attack factors attacking here, and this long-range bomber as well for a total of 24. And we are declaring this one battle. So who knows, we might get some surprise. The intel is 4. Which means since we used Operation Cherry Blossom as an event and the intelligence value is 5, this is enough for the Japanese, and they will react by activating the South HQ. So he's bringing Akagi from Leyte and also Nazi from Singapore and the 28th AF from Kure, and also Shokaku, a total of 4 activations. So if you wonder how these ones were activated and will be used for battle, you will notice that if Shokaku or Akagi reads here, it is 3 hexes from Rangoon, so they can use their aeroplanes to reach the battlefield. So Shokaku and the Akagi will join. Also this air unit by using its 3 legs of movement. And we also have Nachi joining. Now his total is as high as 10 plus 8 plus 14 plus 10 plus the 6 of Ryujo. So a total of 48 against our 3 full strength air units of 10 strength for each step. So we are rolling a quarter result, which is 6 out of our 24, which is nothing. And here also a quarter as well, out of his 48, which is 12, which is very low as well, but at least it's better than nothing. He can deal 1 step of damage. So after all this commotion, practically almost nothing happened, except I lost a precious step. So one of my strongest air units in this area is reduced, and now instead of a 10 strength 1, I have a 5 strength 1. But at least we managed to bring our units closer to Rangoon. And after Julius rebasing, let's continue with our PBM. Okay, the air units flying to Mandalay and the long-range bomber to Dhaka. And in for Japanese card play number 1 for turn 5. And here Julius is playing Central Agreement as an event. So Interservice Rivalry is over for the Japanese headquarters. And they also, with these Japanese cards, have the option to discard a card of their choice and replace it with any card from the discard pile. So let's see what he does. He discards Operation C, which is the Indian Ocean raid against Commonwealth naval units mainly. And he's getting high altitude interceptors, a very interesting one. This is 2 air replacements, so he's starting to build up his defenses for later in the game. And also he adds on to the strategic bombing die roll until the allies control Iwo Jima, for example. So he might be going for delaying me later on in the game by placing more air units and a +1 die roll modifier for my strategic bombing. So let's continue our operations, starting with Operation King 2 as 3OC for operations. It is this one card, so it is just 3 activations plus the HQ efficiency. We are again activating SIAC, which means 4 activations total. So activating London from Dhaka to do an attack onto Ryujo. And coupled with that, we bring our 3 strong ground units from Lashio by expanding from Lashio half a movement point and then half more movement point and then 2 movement points for the jungle to enter Rangoon. So actually my plan was to go all in onto Rangoon with these 3 ground units. And we've got a strength of 22 plus 20 plus 16, which is a total of 58. And the only help that I want is to sacrifice a naval unit or whatever unit against Ryujo, so that I cannot take any losses onto my ground units during the air-naval combat part. I will obviously have no modifiers in this battle. Actually, I will have a negative modifier of 1 for the jungle that is Rangoon. But at least I can fully use the strength of my units. And the only losses I will suffer in the air-naval combat part will be the one of London. So let's see what happens. So Julius is rolling for Intel. He rolls a 0, which is of course enough. And he's bringing the air units from Palembang. Now, one small note is that he can react with some, actually 1 amphibious shipping point, plus whatever organic transport he might afford to come onto Rangoon. But he cannot bring any units by amphibious assault that are not accompanied by naval escort. So he cannot use the amphibious shipping points to bring this one. And the reason is my London naval unit. So one of the reasons I brought London into the fight instead of some weak air unit, for example, is to prevent any seaborne reinforcements in reaction to this battle. So he's activating again Shokaku and the Nazi and an air force from Davao. Okay, and all these guys again join the fight. It is a high value card, so we expect reinforcements to come from afar, that's no problem. So during the air naval combat I'm rolling a 3, which is a half result, which is nothing of course, and here he's rolling a quarter. So in his case he has 16 plus 16 makes 32, plus 14 makes 46, and then 56 with Nazi, and 62 with Ryujo. So it is a bit higher than the quadruple value of 15, which would be 60. So he's got the 16, luckily, and he will destroy our London with this 16, which is the 1/4 of his strength. And now let's get to the interesting part, which is the land combat. Now I shall remind you that I have a -1 because of defender in jungle hex, and otherwise it's whatever strength we've got. So I'm rolling a 4 and he's rolling a 1. Now visiting the combat chart again, 1 is 1/2, and my 4, which is modified to 3, is 1 times my strength. So in this case I'm dealing my full factors in damage, which is as we mentioned earlier 58, and he's dealing half of his combined 38. So he's dealing 19 and I'm dealing my grand total of 58. So 19 is barely enough to do 1 step of damage to my ground units, and my 58 requires 18 for this guy and 12 for this guy. So this is 30 and we are left with 28. So we can even eliminate the Koreans with that and just let those guys alive. So very bad news indeed. Korean army is eliminated and these guys are left alive, and we suffer just the 1 loss of the Australians, and his army is retreating from Rangoon, which means a couple of things. Rangoon is Allied control, and we've got our first political will for this turn. Now he's retreating from the battle. He's post-battle moving his units back to Philippines, and Ryujo is leaving as well with his emergency naval movement. And he's also 1 resource lower at this stage. Now he's playing high altitude interceptors as an event. We had no post-battle movement of course, so we are proceeding directly to his card play. So he's getting his air replacements for future use, 2 of them, and the high altitude interceptors for when the time comes for strategic bombing. And right now our main source of problems is political will. So we have to check how we can advance further and capture some politically important hexes. So Rangoon was a really cool one, and this means, coupled with Fogelkop, that he's now down at 12 resources, which means 6 cards for the Japanese from now on instead of 7. And it is really unlikely at this stage that the Japanese managed to recapture some resources, because with that strength at Rangoon they will need a hell lot of land strength to take that back. And it is starting to become increasingly dangerous to mount a counterattack either at Fogelkop or New Guinea in general, or the CBI, because the game is moving on and I have not yet played any ambush cards, and if the Japanese suffer 1 deadly ambush, then they are toasted and comeback is very difficult. So it is unlikely that they try to risk a counterattack for resource recapture. So we should assume they will be playing with a maximum of 6 cards in hand from now on. However, this is not nearly enough for our political will requirements. Something has to be done for further progress, and let's see how this is achieved, because things at Pacific look dire. The garrison in Kwajalein is now really strong, and these hexes are under zone of influence, so no land operation or amphibious assault operation will be easy here. So I'm playing New China Army as an event at this point. And my funny comment is that I was actually expecting to fail the first attempt at Rangoon, throw in a couple of ground steps and fail because of the -1 modifier, and then use the New China Army to counterattack again with the Chinese as a second wave and possibly secure Rangoon at the second attempt. However, after the fall of Rangoon, we can now use our Chinese to more aggressive movements. So activating this SEAC air unit plus the 3 ground units. And as for the bonus, we can activate all the Chinese at no cost. Now, I shall remind you that the Chinese cannot operate outside China, Burma and northern India, so this is as far as they can go. Beyond that is Siam, Thailand. So practically their usage is limited and stops somewhere around here. So the best they can do is garrison Rangoon, which is no small feat because it will then free up my stronger ground units to move further and possibly capture stuff here and there in the CBI. So I'm moving the Chinese to attack this guy, coupled with the rest of my ground units. And I will also bring some Chinese guys to garrison Rangoon. Now we shall also need those Indian troops, which are cool and strong, but I shall remind you that they are not amphibious assault capable. So there are some problems starting to arise at this stage because these Indian units have to be transported by land and then move by land only. And it is only the Australians and the British that are capable of amphibious assault operation in case I want to do something fancy onto Medan or onto Kuala Lumpur or the rest of Malaya, for example. So at this stage I'm cancelling the Indians and bringing in air units, just again for the same purpose of shielding my ground units from any air naval retaliations from the Japanese side. So the best I can do now is deal some damage to my air units, and that's it. Land units will be unharmed by air naval. So this is one battle hex that we are declaring. So he's rolling an 8 at this stage, which is interesting because this is far above our 4 required for reaction. So my air unit actually cannot deal any damage, but okay. And at this stage we've got a +2 modifier for being the only ones with air carrier units in the fight, which negates the -2 modifier for mixed terrain. This is all summarized here again. So we're practically without modifiers for either side. So Grand Combat is 4 for us and 1 for the Japanese. So the half strength of 10 is 5 and they can't deal any step of damage to us. But of course with our full strength we can eliminate that guy. I remind you, these are the strongest guys in the Japanese army. The Korean army with its 18 attack and defense, and this one with his 20 attack strength when at full strength. So he's eliminated, and we're capturing this insignificant hex, which is the northern part of Kauai Bridge. But this brings no political will satisfaction, so we still have a long way to go. Good thing is now the road is much open to the rest of French Indochina, because you know, the most ground units have been sent to garrison the Pacific. We have eliminated the strongest ones in lightning speed, and they will start having to plug these holes because Bangkok is a political will location, and the same is true for these airfields. And even Singora, if we manage to move overland. There's also the chance of some amphibious assault towards here, but this is risky because of the Japanese Zoi and unlikely to succeed, so this will be a desperation attempt if, for example, we want to use an one value card from here to reach here. And again, we cannot do that without the Zoi of ourselves, so we either need an airplane that can reach here, which is unlikely because we have no airfields nearby, or we shall need a carrier, which is also unlikely. Maybe Hermes only if, for example, we naval transport Hermes onto Rangoon and then use Hermes to provide some Zoi and possibly die in order to allow for an amphibious assault here. And even if we do so, you know, this would give us control of the airfield, but then we would have to bring an air unit here, otherwise our unit here is out of supply. And even if we bring a unit here, this will probably be a long-range bomber which does not neutralize this Zoi, so this will be out of supply itself, because our regular air units can't use a range of, you know, 2 or an extended range of 4 to reach here from any airfield in range, because Rangoon is 5 hexes away from this one. So these are some complications of future plans of amphibious landings here and there, just mentioning. So the Japanese go ahead and play their card before my post-battle movement, which is War in Europe minor Axis victory as an event. We are in 1943, so this drops the War in Europe level by just 1. Otherwise it would drop that even lower, and we would be failing at the 0-3 level or 0-4 as long as we are in Interservice Rivalry. So at least we are down here. This will further delay our reinforcements. So card play number 4 it is, after completing our post-battle movement. Now we've got some stacking issues, which is foreground units here, the Chinese plus the 3 of our strong units. Of course we will send the Chinese off the map to be brought back in the next turn. Though that's a mistake, it will be returning in 2 turns. Actually, that's what happens to ground units when overstacked. They return the turn after the next one, but I doubt this will matter that much for the Chinese. So we're playing Skip Bombing Attack, the card we had saved as a future offensive and would most likely not see any usage, because this would require the use on part of the Japanese of a CA or CL or APD naval unit within the extended range of a non-long range bomb air unit of ours. So this will possibly not be the case as the game currently stands. So we're playing this as operation to free up some space in the future offensive card queue, which would be a nice spot for Operation Watchtower for a future surprise, more likely to happen. So 2 operations it is. And again we are activating SEAC. Yes guys, that is true. We are not seeing any action in the Pacific, nor in Southeast Asia. MacArthur and Nimitz are just drinking their coffee or something. And maybe Halsey is eating his ice cream. We know he used to love ice cream. And we see that currently the Japanese naval strength is formidable here. So we're not attempting anything fancy here. This is all very well garrisoned and zone of influence. So we shall keep moving here and possibly achieve some gains. However, there are some supply issues starting to arise here. For example, this is 10 hexes at most, and we can reach by sea all the way here. And to do that, if the Japanese bring some zone of influence closer to here, in order to save this supply, at least by sea, we need some Zoi from Rangoon, and then we cannot practically move any further because these hexes are no airfields. We may control them, but we cannot bring any air units closer. So if we move here, the problems start to arise. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hexes, that's cool and all. But there's also the restriction that if we supply our units by land, they have to be within 4 movement points of a supply eligible port. So, because the Kauai bridge has not been built, unluckily, now that we need overland supply, this means 2 movement points for here and 2 movement points for here if we start at Rangoon. So this is 1 hex too far to supply our units. That's true, we cannot supply our units any further than Kauai Bridge south, so whatever we try to achieve here for purposes of political will mean our units are done for because of supply. And now you would notice and would argue that this is an airfield and a port, and we can bring some air unit here, possibly, fly some hopefully regular air units onto Bangkok, and provide some Zoi of ourselves to possibly make this one supply eligible port. But the truth is, in order for that to be a supply eligible port, we will have to trace a supply route all the way to there by sea, which is next to impossible with all these zones of influence around. I mean, even if I brought my air unit here and exerted the zone of influence around, this will not be a supply eligible port because these zones of influence block the path by sea from SEAC, for example. So this means it might have been feasible to take control of these hexes and even possibly grab Bangkok in our next move because, 2 movement points, 2.5 and 3, or scratch that, there is no road, we can't even do that. We have to first move to Kauai Bridge and then possibly grab Bangkok. but any further than that will be very hard. In order for that to be supply eligible, maybe we could also bring headquarters in by, for example, redeploying SIAC out for the next turn and then bring that back to Bangkok. But again, this cannot be placed in an unneutralized enemy zone of influence. So what would be the way to exert some zone of influence of ours here to make this zone of influence neutralized? Well, there isn't, because this hex is too far. It is 3 hexes far, and we can't exert zone of influence from Rangoon to Bangkok. And even if we did, if we redeployed the SIAC out for the next turn, this air unit here would be out of supply and would then have no zone of influence. So there's a mountain of problems to solve if we want to advance any further. An alternative path would be to possibly move towards Hanoi, again without any road assistance, because this is 2 movement points and then 2 movement points and then 1 more movement point, which means a lot of hefty operations cards. And maybe if our opponent is as kind as leaving Hanoi unprotected, and we can take that and possibly redeploy our air units and redeploy a headquarters and possibly place the headquarters here as reinforcements, maybe our problems would be solved at this stage, and we would be able to keep bringing air units here and possibly naval units as reinforcements and start expanding our counterattack here. So at this stage, with our 2 operations, we are moving our ground units further, and we even used 2 amphibious shipping points to bring the British from Rangoon. Or actually, we are saving our amphibious shipping points because we might need those for some amphibious assault, and just bringing the British a bit slower down. So time for the first Japanese pass. So allied card play number 5. Yeah, to be honest, I did not expect the Japanese to pass at this stage, because this leaves me some free political will here and there. So let's see how we do that. We're playing our Victor Plans as an event, which is 6 activations for Southwest Pacific headquarters, 4 logistic value for the rest of headquarters. I guess you all might know that I will only be playing with the SIAC headquarters right now, which is the only one headquarters that is actually doing something good in this game. So the Americans are handing it to the British with 4 logistic value plus 1 efficiency for a total of 5 activations. And the cool thing is, contrary to the Americans, we can use our units, our Commonwealth ones, without being affected by the Interservice Rivalry. We don't need many naval units to conduct amphibious landings here, because we are moving on foot. We just need Commonwealth ground units and American army units, which is one more cool thing of playing with Commonwealth units when Interservice Rivalry poses problems. So the Indians and British are activated along with some Chinese and 1 air unit. The air unit is brought closer for zone of influence purposes, and the Indians are moved further. Unfortunately, this is only a 2 operations value 1, so we cannot move these ones straight to Hanoi. At this point, we were out of 3 operations value cards, if you exclude Operation Watchtower, which I want to save for future surprises. Although maybe I was toying with the idea of using Watchtower to just grab Hanoi and make my life easier at this stage. The thing is, one more supply source at this stage, if you are wondering how this guy is in supply, is Kunming. So if we can trace 4 movement points to Kunming, we are in supply. So this guy can move here without any problems. And now that I think about it, it might actually have been a good move to try to secure Hanoi without a fight and secure our supply from Kunming, and then redeploy our air units here and possibly redeploy our SIAC headquarters onto Hanoi over the next turn. So this might have made our life easier. Reminding that Kunming is an exception. You don't need headquarters when you are tracing to Kunming. So I could possibly have redeployed SIAC, and this unit would have maintained its Zoe because of tracing to Kunming, and I would indeed have been able to place the SIAC onto Hanoi. I think this would have made my life much easier, because if you redeploy headquarters here, then everything is possible. We can capture Hue for political will, and then possibly come around through these roads, and even Phnom Penh and Saigon and this airfield and we could even have been able to proceed overland to Yunning and Canton and the rest of the Chinese coastland, because I will remind you that the more the Japanese spend their divisions in China, the Chinese garrison becomes weaker, from 3 units in 8 in its Chinese coastal hex. Now they have 2, and by spending 1 more, they would drop down to 1, so Canton and Swatow or Wenzhou would still only contain 1 Japanese garrison. So all this is a very feasible political will task to undertake. And who knows, someday we may reach Japan itself or Manchuria as the British. Maybe this will be a distant dream in the future. So for now, we are stopping here, short of Hanoi, and moving the rest of our units here. As you notice, this is start getting out of supply. So, Japanese card play number 5, it is. And actually he's playing a weather card, so nothing of what we did earlier will actually come true. So he says he would like to cancel a 3 value card, which is not the case for Victor plans, which is just 2. So maybe it ends up better than expected to not have played the Watchtower to occupy Hanoi, because this would be cancelled anyway. So yeah, Victor plans is cancelled. And now he's playing the submarine attack as a 1 OC for operations. So just some small operations, since we are not moving any naval units. Mainly because we don't have naval units. Saigon activated, so it's 2 activations total. And he's activating the army in Kuantan plus the army at Hong Kong. Let's see what he does with those. Nope, he activates Tarakan after all. So this one is moving to Bangkok strategically. Reminding, this is not starting at the port hex. This is just an airfield. So it's just a 5 hexes movement allowance, like a naval unit on a 1 OC card. If it was port to port, it would be a double movement allowance, so a total of 10, but now it's just 5. Then we've got Tarakan moving to Hanoi, in which case you see this is within 10 hexes range, precisely what I was talking about. So he was not entirely careless as to leave us Hanoi for free, as well as Bangkok. So yeah, sadly he is defending that, and now our task will be much harder if we want to take either of those. So we are not left with many strong cards now. By evaluating our hand, we just have Watchtower, Edwin Booth and Prime Minister Curtin now. So 1 value cards can get us a long way ahead. We can, however, move this guy here in the hopes of taking down the Japanese at a relatively equal value. I mean, these 2 points of difference do not really make any actual difference in combat, because it is either 1 times or 1.5 times or half times or 2 times result, which in both cases is enough to eliminate 1 or 2 steps of 12. So let's see, maybe we want to make an attack, a risky one. The thing is, we still want to make some progress of war. We've got 2 hexes, but that's about it. So what else are we doing? Yeah, at least we won't be marching out of supply line ourselves. So we are playing Prime Minister Curtin at this stage, and we're activating Anzac for some possible surprise. We're activating the Australian Air and the New Zealand Division. Let's see what we do with those. It's a total of 2 activations, so just those. So, because the Australian Air is here and projects its zone of influence here, we can make this amphibious landing happen, which was our plan all along, to possibly capture a free hex here and save our political will situation. So, Andoina it is, and let's see if we move the Australian Air. We use 1 amphibious shipping point for that. So, we have activated the Australian Air, not to move it right now, but we can move it afterwards to possibly post-battle move it to Amboina and project our Zoi further onto Medado or Kendari and slowly start grabbing hex after hex for political will purposes and a slow expansion. That is the plan for the future and the post-battle movement. Now let's see if this succeeds. Good thing is that even if he has a reaction card, he first has to create that special reaction hex, because no unit is here no combat would actually take place. So first there is the special reaction roll, in which case he has to roll a 0 to 1 for the card, but it is turned onto a 0 to 3 because of entering the zone of influence. So if he both rolls a 0 to 3 and has a reaction card, or rolls a second 0 to 3, he can then react and possibly send us packing. The good thing though is that usually you're playing with very limited amphibious shipping points. We need one amphibious shipping point to grab one hex, and then the second amphibious shipping point to grab another hex, and if anything goes south, then we lose the progress of war game, if everything goes slightly wrong. But in this case, because we have made some progress in the CVI, things are much easier. Let's see. So the Japanese special reaction is 8, no chance for creating a battle hex here. So whether we have surprise or not, it doesn't matter, he cannot react here. So this was actually our second progress of war hex. First one was Rangoon, and still I've got to tell you our job is tough. So Jules says I can PBM, and he will play in the future offensive queue after that. We don't know which card it is. Now as planned, we moved the Australian air unit here to buy some time ahead and project our Zoe here so that we can possibly amphibious land here. And now we are following up with Edwin Booz as a 1OC. We've got only that on Watts Tower, so we are really back against the wall. This could have been a future offensive queue card, is my comment. We were thinking of saving that as a future offensive queue, and our Japanese opponent only has one card. So in that case, we will have the last card play, mainly because of the weather card that he played, otherwise he would have the last card play. So we can save Watts Tower and make a guaranteed surprise on our last play, probably. But the thing is, we need Watts Tower to secure some progress of war, besides doing anything else that we can do. So possibly we could land some units here by surprise and grab some free hexes because he won't be special reacting. And besides that, we could save a card for future offensive, which I generally like to do, but maybe something goes wrong, so let's just use Edwin Booz right now, I thought. So we're activating the SEAC headquarters. Yeah, my thought was to move the British onto Udon. I think they were here after the weather card. And I was thinking of taking Udon because this is a city hex, and that could be a progress of war. But I'll tell you what I discovered in that very particular moment. This belongs to Siam, Thailand. This is not French Indochina, this is not Burma. This is a special, politically unimportant country. But the thing is, it starts as Allied control, and it's just Bangkok that the Japanese have grabbed during 1941. So if you exclude Bangkok, which is Japanese controlled because of the Japanese moves at 1941, the rest of Siam remains Allied controlled, so nobody has been messing with Udon so far. So it is still Allied controlled, so I cannot take that for progress of war. How cool. So I've finally decided on activating Anzac again with the New Zealand division and the Australian Corps at Townsville. So this might not be able to secure some progress of war just yet, but I'm willing to bring that closer to the conflict so that this may do something useful later. So bringing this here and moving the New Zealanders to Manado to possibly take control of it. That's another amphibious assault. Yeah, my comment here is I could have activated an air naval unit to possibly escort this in case the Japanese player wants to react and bring a naval unit here and cancel my amphibious assault. But even if I do bring something into the mix, like this Australian unit to support the invasion, it will be toasted by the Japanese if they manage to react. Our gamble is that they can't. And the thing is, even if I had used the Australians to possibly attack Kendari, which would be a good hit because I have 10 points and I can trade all the air steps that I wish. It's very likely that I would have achieved surprise and attack Kendari and reduce this air unit by 1 step. But if he managed to react, he would probably kill my units. And if Amboina was left without a ground garrison, and without a Zoe, because this one would be dead, then he can just use his last card and land here and recapture Amboina and mess up our progress of war and eventually lose our last bits of political will. So again, time for the Japanese reaction. He does get a special reaction in this case, and he's playing his counter-attack at Savo Island, which he had saved for a last resort, I guess. And he's drawing one strategy card for that, so we will be seeing another card play on his part. So either air or naval units, not both, may be activated. So let's see how this goes. He's got a logistic value of 3, plus whichever HQ he's activating. Yeah, he checks and sees that this battle hex is just out of range of the combined fleet of Ozawa. Again, this is a huge difference from Yamamoto, because he would be able to reach all these beautiful spaces as Yamamoto. So he's activating the South Seas headquarters, which has got an efficiency rating of 2, plus 3, which is a logistic value. So he's activating all these naval units, bringing those into the mix. But as we all know, there is no combat happening if a naval unit is brought in as a reaction and I'm unescorted by naval units. Then I just lose a step and do post-battle movement. So he will doing his post-battle movement, although, yeah, technically he does this first and then that's me. And then he plays Panama Canal as an event, which is precisely what we didn't want to see at this stage, because this is a card that, okay, its effect is that he automatically delays my next turn's reinforcements, which would be automatically delayed because of the war in Europe, but he does that in order to draw one strategy card. So what does this mean? It means even our last card is not a guaranteed surprise after these card draws of his. So we cannot guarantee ourselves the surprise that we'd like to grab the free progress of war, and also use our surprise modifiers to deal some hefty damage onto the Japanese units. For example, if I activated Nimitz, I could possibly activate some units and damage him here. Now, there's a couple of problems with that. For example, because of this accursed Interservice Rivalry, I cannot activate naval units and air units. Actually, units of the US Navy and units of the US Army. So I have to either get Lexington and the Marines, or the air units. I cannot, for example, send Lexington here and the air units to combine their strength and attack here. So if I want to activate army units, for example, to amphibiously assault with this one is no good, because I don't have any airfield to bring that close and project my Zoe, which again would not neutralize the enemy Zoe, because this is a long-range bomber. But anyway, you get the point. So it would have to be a carrier, in which case the army units are out of the question. We only have the Marines, which are significantly weaker and can hurt his garrison, so it would have to be the Marines going here. But then, because these are only airports, I cannot rebase my naval units here onto the airports. They have to leave, and leave the Marine or whatever units I bring here unsupplied within the Japanese units' zone of influence, assuming they survive. I cannot, for example, activate an air unit and bring it here, for example, and then take control of that and post-battle move my air unit here to project my Zoe all around. This is normally what happens to the Central Pacific. This is how the Americans start to slowly progress, because usually this is their strong theater. But now, with our navy melted and in inter-service rivalry, I think we have no hopes of making any significant progress here anytime soon. So let's see how we handle our last card play, because right now Operation Watchtower has lost much of its value. So after a long thought, I decided to play it as operations, not event. Because if I played this as an event, I would be only able to activate one ground unit. So this is why I wanted to make this landing previously. Because if I had grabbed just one hex for Progress of War, then I would be at 3 and I would only need one more hex. So if I activated one ground unit, like say these Marines, I could possibly land here and use the rest of my units to deal some free damage to his units. Right now, not only this is not guaranteed, because we are not guaranteed to achieve surprise, but it does not even suffice. I need 2 hexes of progress of war, and with just 1 unit able to be activated by Watchtower, that's not nearly enough. So we have to play it as operations, sadly. Previously I was thinking of going from here, 1 movement point onto Phnom Penh, and I thought this would grab me 2 progress of war hexes, but as we previously discussed, Udorn is still allied controlled, so no progress of war. And if I use it as an event, it's only 1 ground unit activated, so I cannot do what I originally planned to, like, grab 1 hex here and possibly advance the other unit here and try to take Bangkok, or this 1 unit here and possibly attack here. So let's see what we managed to do in order to get 2 progress of war. Let alone I can only declare 1 battle hex if operations. So our task again is hard. We cannot just throw this guy here and this guy here and hope, one of the 2 succeeds, because we're only allowed 1 battle hex. So we get like 4 activations this time through operations. So Siak will be activated, and we will activate this Indian guy, as well as Hermes and this 1 unit, as well as this 1 unit. So these 3 ground units, and the trick is that we can use the Indians to possibly go here, expending 2 movement points, and then expending half movement point to reach Hue. So luckily we do have these 3 operation points, and we can reach here, and we can also take Phnom Penh or try to capture Bangkok, but this will be risky because if we fail, you know what happens. Another thought that I had in this turn previously was if we could have moved before he defends, to use 1 move here, from here to here, 1 movement point, and then 1 more movement point to go here and grab Hue on the move. And actually what I could have done would be 1 move here with Watchtower, and then half, and another half, and then also turn back to Hanoi and keep ourselves supplied through Kunming. And another odd thing is that even if we do not control Kunming, if there was not this unit here, we would still be in supply here, because 2 movement points, 3 movement points, 3.5, 4 movement points from Kunming. But it is this very unit that prevents this supply path of ours. So this is our 3rd progress of war, and we're playing that safe by grabbing this 1 4th hex, because we can reach at Phnom Penh, modern capital of Cambodia. So now we are bringing the other British corps here, and that's about it. So we have managed to capture some more progress of war hexes, although bringing ourselves fully out of supply here, and we are anxiously awaiting for the last Japanese card. So he will be trying to win this by playing Tokyo Express as a 3 OC for operations. So, since he's activating south, this is 4 activations, and we have to hold Phnom Penh at all costs, because all hell will break loose here. He is bringing his air support and his 2 ground units. What does this mean? He has 27 factors, and of course, because he will be bringing air support here, even if we bring air or naval units to fire at him, they will only be able to hurt his air units. These 27 factors will be enough to eliminate us if they achieve at least a 1 times result, and will grab control of the hex unless we eliminate them in kind. So if we again consult the combat chart, it depends on the modifiers at first, but let's say we neutralize his air advantage by bringing some air units of ours and surviving. He's got a -2, and all he needs is a modified 3 in order to achieve this 1 times result. So let's see how it plays out. He's rolling for my intel because he knows I don't have any cards anyway, so he does not hand it back to me. Why would he? It's just a roll. So I'm rolling in the range of intel, And of course, I have to react with the SIAC, because this is the only one in range and capable of activating units to react and reach that hex. So 4 activations. Let's send the next British inline, was my comment, because as you might check, this is within range. The same way we reached at first, we can bring more British there. So also bringing an air unit for the obvious reason of denying his access to bombarding our ground units, and also to possibly deal one step to his elite air units if we roll well. So just noticing that this is firing at extended range, so I indeed needed the long range bombers to reach the factor threshold of factual 10 to possibly deal one step of damage. And of course I would not like to risk these units, because these are strong, these neutralize enemy Zoids. I would rather expend my long range bombers on that suicide mission. So, air combat. He's rolling a 0 and I'm rolling a critical. Which critical in that case is just a one-time result, because I have to just eliminate a full strength step first and reduce it, which I will be able to do anyway, even with a roll of 8, that's no difference. Now, -2 for ground, and he's rolling a 5, so he can indeed deal 2 steps of damage, but now because I've brought reinforcements, this is insufficient. He will just reduce my 2 units. And we've got 36. So with our 6, we can do 1 times our damage. So 36 is enough to eliminate all of his ground units. So because of his haste to win the game right here, right now, which I don't really blame him for, he risked and lost all 3 of his steps in exchange for 2 of ours, which I was anyway going to lose because I would be ending the turn out of supply. So now the map looks more clearer without all these yellow guys. Let's post-battle move our units. Dhaka and Colombo are the destinations, and back to him for PBM. So, attrition time. His army is eliminated at Atokiska. No other attrition because all these units are already reduced. And we are up for game turn 6. We did it. We did not lose right away. We will be playing a little more of 1943 at a political will of 1 and without a navy and in Interservice Rivalry. What beautiful times.